Hey, hello everyone. How is everyone doing? Glad you could join me here this Sunday evening for you, wherever you might be, or Monday morning if you're in Asia. Over here in Singapore is where we're at. Thank you for joining us and being with us. Let me take a quick look at who's out there with us this morning here in Asia. Niels Han Dynasty, how you doing? By Platinum and Silver, absolutely yes. Throttle, how you doing? Carrie Ellen Wilder, how you doing, ma'am? Let's see what else. Okay, Truth Monster, how you doing? Okay, aloha to one and all. Appreciate you being here. Harold B, thank you. Dave Hilderman, first time I've seen you here. Welcome aboard from New Mexico. How you doing, sir? And Doug Wilder, uh, Southern California. How you doing, sir? Glad you all could join us. Aloha. Welcome to everyone. So today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a look at is a 1-to-1 silver to gold ratio possible? Can it happen? And we're going to find out. We're going to go through it. Maybe it could. Who knows? And then we're going to be taking a look at a few items from Gerald Salente's Trends Journal, and we're going to be taking a look at three clips from the recent Peter Schiff interview. So as always, please feel free to chime in. Comments are mostly always appreciated. I'll use the word mostly pretty liberally, but anyway, I'll be with you folks in about 20 seconds or so. Let me down a few more sips of coffee and we'll get the show on the road. Thanks again for being here. Sound check is appreciated. Also, let me know how the audio is coming in for you. Appreciate that as well. Hello again, everyone. Excuse me. Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Silver Bullion Television, SBTV. I'm your host, Patrick Vieira. Again, glad you all could be here. Appreciate that very, very, very much. As always, you can find us on social media. Silverbullion.com.sg is our website. We do sell silver, gold, platinum, palladium, and we also store it. We have our own vault. So if you do vault with us, you're not dealing with a third party vault. You will be dealing with us. And so, again, no third party vault involved there. And over time, we've come to know that wealth protection is where things need to go. So we do specialize in systemic wealth protection. So if you have questions, concerns about what's going on today, shoot us an email, sales@silverbullion.com.sg, and we'll see what we can do for you. Facebook, Silver Bullion SG. Twitter, Silver Bullion PL, PL for Private Limited. Silver Bullion SG is where you can find us on Instagram. Audio only versions can be found on bit.ly, bit.ly slash SBTV iTunes or SBTV Spotify. And Crisis Tracker, go ahead and get that Telegram app if you don't have it. Go ahead and download it. It's free for both your desktop or your mobile phone. And then you go ahead and search for t.me slash crisis tracker, one word. This is where Vincent and I, mostly Vincent, so Vincent, thank you. We'll go ahead and post articles as it relates to things like gold, silver, current events, all the things that we should be really keeping a track of. So that's crisis tracker, one word. And we've found out how to finally enable the comment section for Crisis Tracker. So now feel free to go ahead and leave some comments, leave reviews, and that'll give us a good idea on how things are going with you. Give us a good gauge on how things are going with all of you out there. So Crisis Tracker, one word. Go ahead, search for it on that Telegram app. Moving forward, again, aloha to one and all our upcoming guest. I think you folks might know him. He is Rafi Farber, publisher of The Endgame Investor, an emotional balancing approach to the end of the fiat monetary system. So that's going to be Rafi Farber coming up. So please do subscribe, hit that bell so you can be notified, and thumbs ups are always appreciated. We absolutely do thank you for them. And another way we'd like to thank you is by giving away a $10 Amazon gift card. All you need to do is You're going to have to answer the Peter Schiff question in about a minute and a half, which is going to be coming up. And if you're one of the first five, we're going to go ahead and give you this $10 Amazon gift card. So again, be one of the first five to answer correctly in this live stream before the timer runs out. You'll have about a minute and 30. US winners, you'll be given a link to download the gift card. Non US winners, you can ask Amazon to exchange the gift card if it's not usable in your country. And of course, you'll have to give us your email here at on this live stream or during this live stream. And that's going to be, I believe, sbtv at silverbullion.com.sg. And then Vincent will help me to manage that and get that card out to you after the live stream. So a lot out there. So here we go. Hopefully, you had a chance to watch that Peter Schiff interview. Maybe you can win this gift card. The question is, Peter Schiff says the next round of QE is going to be the blank. The next round of QE is going to be a blank. So go ahead and give it your best shot. And we'll see if maybe you're one of the top five to get it or the first five to get it. So in the meantime, let me go ahead and take a look at the comments. So yes, as Vincent is pointing out here, Telegram group, the comments are enabled. So go ahead and feel free to put your comments in that Telegram group. Again, Crisis Tracker, one word. Go ahead and search for it on Telegram. All right, so let's see what else is out there. Yeah, Bill Wood, you figured out the comments. Great. VK Travelog, how you doing? Good morning. Can we buy silver with the gift card? I don't think so. I don't think so. But hey, you know what? That's maybe something for us to try and think about. So hey, appreciate that. Let's see what else is out there. Okay, so guys are taking a guess. So let's see. Okay, biggest BK Travelog Seymour Rivers says last. Pawar last. 495 last. Let's see what else is out there. A lot of lasts and biggest. Apocalypse. Okay, last. Okay, well, we'll see what the answer is. And we're going to give the answer here, and it is overdose. So the answer is overdose. Peter Schiff says it's going to be an overdose with another round of QE. If it should happen, it's going to be an overdose. Let me go ahead and play that Peter clip. I'm just scrolling through the answers here. Let me go ahead and play that clip and see if that is exactly what he said. Okay, well, I'll revisit him first, and then we'll see if that is what he said.
One of the things that the Fed has been financing is a massive growth in government spending. I mentioned the national debt is up $8 trillion since the pandemic. Who made that possible? The Fed with its monetary policy. So if the Fed actually reverses course to fight the inflation it created, that's going to force the government to dramatically cut government spending. Can you imagine the financial crisis when the government doesn't pay its obligations? The government would actually have to default on a lot of obligations. It'd have to cut Social Security, have to cut Medicare. See, all these terrible things are going to happen if the Fed does the right thing, which is why I think there's zero chance the Fed is going to do the right thing. It's going to do the wrong thing again because it's always done the wrong thing, except this time it's going to be the end of the line for the Fed. They can't kick this can down the road anymore. I think the next round of a QE is going to be the overdose that finally kills the dollar and sets off a sovereign debt crisis and sends gold and silver prices, to the moon.
Okay, so Peter Schiff saying the next round of QE will kill the dollar. It's going to be the overdose. The Fed financing massive growth in government spending. Zero chance the Fed is going or will do the right thing. So I want to know what are your thoughts on what exactly is the right thing for the Fed to do at this point? What are your thoughts on that? I just want to backtrack a bit here. Let me look at this. There was a question from Ben Tan. About the Russian side, what's the latest on their attempt to peg rubles to gold? Okay, that's a great question. I think Vincent went ahead and answered that one. Let me go ahead and put it here. Uh, he was saying Vincent is saying it's short lived. I mean, no need as ruble is now stronger versus the US dollar than before the war. So that's a great answer from Vincent there. So again, according to Peter, QE, the next round of QE is going to kill the dollar. What are your thoughts on what the Fed needs to do? What's the right thing the Fed can do? I know you guys are going to say, the Fed should quit, close up shop, close up the doors, and just kind of walk away from it all. But what are your thoughts here? So I'll be looking for those as I play the next clip from Peter Schiff.
When the Fed tries to stimulate the economy, when inflation is already well above 2% and it sends inflation into the double digits, the markets are no longer going to have any confidence in the Fed. When the balance sheet explodes above 9 trillion, then through 10 trillion and to infinity and beyond, the markets are no longer going to believe anything the Fed says about its resolve and its commitment. Inflation is going to be seen as here to stay, and it's going to be very high. And that's going to be a game changer because the bottom will drop out of the dollar. Long-term interest rates are going to soar, and the price of gold and silver are going to go through the roof.
All right. So again, Peter saying markets will lose confidence in the Fed. I think it's more than the markets at this point. Inflation is here to stay. We saw inflation numbers drop from 9.1% down to 8.5, but it's here to stay. I don't think there's any world leader right now saying we're going to go back to what inflation was at less than 2% or so. I don't think anyone is going to come out and say that. The bottom will drop out of the dollar. Gold and silver will go through the roof. Well, that's good because if it's going to the moon, it's going to have to get through the roof first. So we appreciate that one, Peter. So what are your thoughts on these? And let me backtrack and go through a few thoughts that you folks had said here about the Fed doing the right thing. Shut it down, close the doors, shut off the lights. Dave Hilderman, the Fed should close up shop. Let's see. VK Travelog, absolutely. Who cares about the Fed? Well, we kind of we may not care about them, but we kind of have to know what they're going on. So I agree with you there. You need to protect yourself with gold and silver. Absolutely. VK Travelog, you hit that one on the head for sure. Let's see what else is out there. Harold B. Ooh, that's a tough one. Find them guilty of treason. Okay. Harold B is not playing. He's not playing today. So again, what are your thoughts on these? Markets losing confidence with the Fed, inflation here to stay, bottom's going to drop out, gold and silver through the roof. I'll be looking for your comments. And I'll go ahead and play the last clip from Peter Schiff.
The beauty of the technology that we have today is that people can also go on a gold standard privately. You don't need the governments to do it. In fact, maybe the free market will return to the gold standard before governments because it's very easy to have gold stored in a depository that you trust, and the owner of that depository can issue digital tokens that are on a blockchain that are backed by that gold. Each token can be 1 gram of gold, and those tokens can be easily negotiated. They can be used as a medium of exchange, as a unit of account, as a store of value. And so people can easily and inexpensively transact and save in gold and silver with counterparties all around the world. Very simply, easier than they can ever do it in the past. So the technology that we have today makes a gold standard far more practical than it ever was in the past. And it worked great in the past. So it'll work even better in the future.
All right, Peter Schiff saying today's tech works well for gold. You know what, that is true, and we've kind of touched on this before. Where if you think you may have to use your gold or even your silver, perhaps to barter, bartering pretty much is only going to work if you're within arm's reach of whoever you want to trade with. Other than that, you're going to have to travel. You're going to have to pack your gold, pack your silver, take it across state lines, maybe take it across international lines. So this is where technology can help gold to do the things that it needs to do for you. And I'll show you one such token in just a bit. Tech today makes a gold standard more practical, absolutely, because you can be able or you are able to transfer your gold. Now let me just go ahead and show you this real quick. Sorry. So I think a lot of you already know about Cash Gold. If not, Cash Gold, it is a token that is fully backed by gold, 1 gram per one token of gold. And the beauty about this particular token is, as Peter was saying, the technology is there for you be able to use your gold, to travel with your gold, to be able to redeem your gold perhaps in other places, as we have here on the left hand side. For cash gold, you can redeem them in Singapore, Switzerland, Dubai, and even the US. And what that means basically is when you buy your token and you'd like to redeem it, you click here and you're going to see all these different bars that are available. So you can see it here. You can see the serial number. You can see where it's at. In this case, the safe house. Switzerland, same thing. You can see the bars that are in Switzerland, same thing. So the beauty of it is you can go ahead and get these tokens, and they can be redeemed in these different places throughout the world. So if you need to move across a border, international border, you can go ahead and get these tokens and redeem them for gold. And it's even in the US as well. So again, that's one great thing about what technology is doing. But I'd like to know your thoughts. So let me go ahead and take a look at the comments here. You guys are got some pretty good comments here. Yeah, Brandon Baker, absolutely. The Fed won't matter once the bond market turns on them. Game over. Game over. And we're seeing still China selling off more bonds. Not as many, let's just say, developed economies are buying U.S. debt. It's more the developing countries that are buying U.S. debt. Still, the Fed is the biggest buyer of bonds. So again, a lot of trouble there. So I'll move on. I will move on to Gerald Salente's Trends Journal. Gerald's weekly message, and two interesting items here. Congress wants a digital dollar. Congress wants a digital dollar, and Argentina is having a few bouts again, once again, in trouble with their finances. So Gerald's message: swallow our poop, follow our orders, get the poke, keep your distance, and wear the face. You know what? Close down your business. Don't leave your house. Support our murderous wars. Pay your taxes. Obey your authorities. So, Gerald, strong words once again. Yes, these are the dictates of the new world. This, you know what? The world leaders, power hungry politicians have and continue to destroy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness all across the globe. The hostilities between country R and the US and NATO keep heating up. And today, the president of country R, Mr. P, said Washington has ramped up hostilities in country U because they need conflicts to retain their hegemony. And that is why they have turned the people of country U into cannon fodder. A country R also accused where they invaded of firing multiple rockets at the nuclear power plant. That's a word there. I'm not even going to try. Nuclear power plant that they occupy in, we'll just say, at Ukraine. And Mr. P also condemned the United States for ramping up tensions with country C and warned that the era of the unipolar world order is nearing its end. And also, Henry Kissinger, who must have been quoting from a previous Trends Journal, warned we are at the edge of war with Russia and China on issues which we partly created without any concept of how this is going to end or what it's supposed to lead to. How is this going to end? If we don't unite for peace and freedom, the end may be a nuclear uh, exchange, which the latest study by Rutgers University shows that some 5 billion people uh, would vanish from this planet, as we have noted in a previous cover, 22 February Trends Journal. So just bear with me, guys. You know the YouTube guys are always kind of watching us. So anyway, Congress wants a digital dollar. A bipartisan group in the U.S. House of Representatives is pressing the U.S. Federal Reserve to move faster in creating a national digital currency. The group fears leadership in digital currencies by China and private cryptos might threaten the US dollar's position as the world's reserve currency. Notice they're not worried about printing money. Unlike Bitcoin or private cryptocurrencies, a digital dollar would be backed by the Fed. China's digital yuan has been circulating for almost a year among the group of 20 leading economies, and 16 are actively developing a digital currency or planning pilot tests, including the European Union, according to the Atlantic Council. We reported a global trend towards central bank digital currency in Look Who's Mining Digital Currency Now, or in the near future. This was back in Feb 16, 2021. Although the Fed has studied the issue and is progressing in creating a digital buck, Fed Chair Jerome Powell has refused to be hurried in the process, as we noted in the Fed releases digital dollar report earlier this year. Now, because the dollar's global heft, it is more important to get it right than to hurry a digital dollar into the currency marketplace. And Powell has said repeatedly, this is what he has said over and over. And he has also said that the Fed will not issue a digital currency without backing from lawmakers. Well, apparently now he has it. And the House Financial Affairs Committee could vote on authorizing legislation as soon as September. The Wall Street Journal noted, I do feel some urgency because other countries are moving ahead, said Representative James Hines. And the banking industry, of course, opposes a digital dollar, saying that it would compete with conventional bank deposits and force banks to raise interest rates on loans. Now, advocates point to the convenience of storing dollars on a smartphone, which would speed transactions and eventually make coins and paper bills obsolete, saving resources as well as bother. A digital dollar would also make transactions safer as well as cheaper to process, is what they say. Argentina. Earlier this month, Argentina central bank added 9.5 percentage points to its key interest rate, moving it up to almost 70% in the largest single rate hike in almost 3 years. The bank had raised the rate by 8 percentage points just 2 weeks earlier, and the bank has jacked up its currency 8 times this year, or percentage 8 times this year, in a so far losing battle with inflation, which clocked 71% in July, the worst, the worst in 30 years. The boosting interest rates close to inflation's pace is part of the government's plans to encourage residents to stay with pesos instead of switching to dollars, which would devalue the country's domestic currency. Pegging the LELIC to inflation is also part of Argentina's 44 billion rescue agreement, of course, with the International Monetary Fund. So there you go. There you go. We'll take a look at our weekly inflation treasury yield check in just a bit. I want to touch base with the comments here. Um, let's see. Let's see. Um, okay. Well, yeah, Dave Hilderman. You know, it's a good point because we've kind of touched on this in previous live streams where the Fed can't figure out how to control the poor yet. When they do, the digital dollar will suddenly appear. We kind of touched on this on a live stream a few months back where um, this whole process is to get everyone what in a situation what they call banked in. The goal is to get everyone banked in, and the majority of people that need to get banked in are the financially challenged, and so this is the goal to try and get them banked in, middle class, upper middle class, pretty much all banked in already. So it's the poor are the people who need more help. That are the ones that they are trying to get banked in. So as you said, once they figure that out, yeah, we may be in for a rough ride ahead. So let's check in. Time for a weekly inflation treasury yield check. So again, when the slope is up and to the right, economic outlook is good. It's how it should be. When it flattens out, optimism is failing. And when it's inverted, a recession more than likely is looming. So we can see in January, we had that up and to the right posture. Things were good. February, you're starting to see the two and the three creep up on the 10-year. Come March, you're starting to see the back end, the two, the three, even the one starting to climb. April as well. When it comes June, you really see a big bump. I think it was June or July where it really starts to jostle. And there you can see it there. And now you look at the left hand side, you see that really starting to creep up. So the yield curve, make no mistake, it is flattening In some places it is inverting, and that usually usually signals a recession is on the way. So we use that chart as just a graphical representation of where we are whenever the Fed talks about that yield curve. So let me go ahead and take a look here at the comments one more time. Um, yeah, banking equals bankrupt. Um, let's see. Truth Monster. It's a great point here. I asked myself, how bad does it have to get before Americans wake up? If Argentina is any example, pretty bad. Uh, it's happening all over the world. I mean, we've seen it. Libya's in trouble. We've seen Lebanon also in trouble. Turkey has had, quite a bout with their currency as well. We're seeing more countries in Africa, Central America, South America really starting to battle up with inflation. And it's going to really come down to three things. I mean, do you have resources and do you have refining capability? And of course, I think, do you have gold? I think those are the things that are going to be the things that are going to kind of rebalance the chessboard as we move forward. Resources, ability to refine, and of course, reserves, gold. So okay, so moving on. I want to get on over to our website, silverbullion.com.sg. Let me go ahead and get back to it. Let me refresh here. Take a look at the gold and silver price this morning here in Asia. And we're at $19.16. It's come down. It was just in the $20 range a few days ago. Gold as well has come down 17.48 an ounce. So both metals catching some headwind this morning here in Asia. Platinum as well, 907 an ounce. It's a little bit down. So again, you got to remember platinum was more than gold at one point, just a few years ago. And again, the thing that really stands out is when you look at Russia and South Africa, two of the BRICS nations, they do have a whole lot of platinum. So the more influence they get, perhaps the more that'll influence the price of platinum. So I'm keeping an eye on it for sure. Let me see what these specials were. Again, 1 ounce Canadian maples, just $4 over spot. If you're storing with us, you can go ahead and get them if they're available. If you're in Singapore, go ahead and come down to the shop. And as well, we have these Credit Suisse 5 gram gold bars, only 6% over spot, which is not bad because usually the smaller you go, the higher the premium. So that's not too bad at 6%. Silver to gold ratio 91.2. We're going to touch on this later on, this silver to gold ratio. To right now we're at 91.2. It does kind of tell you that right now today, price wise, it takes 91 ounces of silver to equal 1 ounce of gold, being being silver undervalued compared to gold. So if you're trying to decide should you buy silver or gold, you might want to consider silver at this point right now. And featured products, again, Britannia coins, they've been doing pretty well. A lot of purchases of Britannia coins. They've really picked up. And again, 1,000 ounce LBMA bars. They have the lowest premium. This is what a lot of people do choose to go ahead and get. You can pick it up from the shop. 2 bars in stock. We have 287. I believe we were just over 300 just last week. So people have been picking up these 1,000 ounce bars, putting them in storage. And the thing is, if you do put it in storage, of course, you have to have an account with us. And there are 6 types: personal, joint, trust, joint account with a minor, business account, and a retirement account. Again, for those of you guys with precious metals IRAs, it is possible, or if you're thinking about a precious metal IRA, it is possible and legal to go ahead and store it overseas. You can store it overseas. In fact, we do have precious metals IRA accounts. So if you'd like to store it overseas with us in Singapore, you absolutely can do that. Just send us an email, sales@silverbullion.com.sg, and we'll help walk you through it. Easiest account though is a personal account. Just basic information, your name, fill out the application, have some type of an ID. And of course, when you come down to reference, go ahead and do reference SBTV. That really helps us out a lot as well. And make sure you're human. Okay, we got to make sure that you're human if you fill this thing out. So there are a lot of things you can do with us. And one of the main things, or one of the things, I shouldn't say main thing, is you can actually put your gold and silver back to work for you. You can collateralize it. Go ahead and take out a loan. We have all these people willing to loan you money, meaning you still own your gold and silver. They're willing to loan you money. As in this case, this person wants 87,000 USD. He wants to borrow for a year. He's looking for 3.25% per annum. And we have all these guys who are willing to loan him money. 100,000 here, almost 700,000 there, another 100,000 there. So really, this is just a marketplace. You choose the interest that you'd like to borrow at, and maybe there will be people who will loan that amount to you at that rate you'd like, or you may have to kind of adjust your rates to go ahead and meet each other in the middle. So again, sales at silverbullion.com.sg is how you can contact us, and we'll walk through these things with you. Taking a quick look at Twitter. If you didn't see this, this is pretty good. I can't play it because it's pretty long, but fascinating discussion, ingeniously anchored by Charles Payne. He did a really great job featuring Art Laffer on the dollar gold link with transition to crypto discussion with Nat Brunell. And we are at that time where this is around the time of the anniversary where Nixon went and temporarily closed that gold window. So this is a pretty good conversation. Check it out if you can. Market Sniper, Francis Hunt, uh, responding to Bloomberg, where Bloomberg says the share of Americans who have a hard time paying their bills is at a pandemic era high, and nowhere is it higher than in Miami and Riverdale, California. And of course, Francis Hunt, if you know him, he's quite a comedian. He's a great guy with a great sense of humor. The not recession sure bites. Dave Cullum, pointing this out, rise in heart disease may be explained by extreme weather conditions, says a study. They're not clear why temperature shifts correlated with more heart attacks. So you can have your opinion on this one. They're not clear why temperature shifts correlated with more heart attacks. And for some reason, this week my Twitter feed really changed. I had quite a lot of climate change issues. I just couldn't get away from it. Larry Elder, and this is from way back in 1989. UN predicts disaster if global warming not checked. This is what they were saying in 89. Entire nations could be wiped off the face of the earth by rising sea levels if the global warming trend is not reversed by the year 2000. Okay, 2000. Well, 2000 is 20 years past. I can tell you, you folks, a lot of you know I grew up in Hawaii, born and raised in Hawaii, and we were told this all the time that the island's going to go underwater if we don't control this climate warning or this change back in 2000. Happy to say my family is still there and the island is still above water. And Nick Giambruno says, imagine if Tony Soprano forced his neighborhood to buy breathing credits from him which grant you the privilege to breathe a certain amount of air. Governments are doing the same with carbon credits, except they are gaslighting you by claiming they're saving the globe. And this is in response to this person here, a copy where they're talking about carbon credits and things like that. So keep an eye on this. Keith Weiner, the reason why socialists want the government to be in charge of lots of capital, not just SPR, but Social Security and state pension funds, highways and bridges, garbage dumps, you name it, it gives them cover to dole out the seed corn to consume in great political uh, maybe I won't say that word. And this is why, because Ross Hendricks pointed this out, where the U.S. government has looted the strategic petroleum reserve to artificially lower oil prices ahead of midterm elections. Okay, ahead of midterm elections, now at the lowest level since '85. So this is the graph here of the oil reserves, strategic oil reserves, and you can see here it's basically just fallen off a cliff mid 2021 up until now. The suggestion is they're using this to bring down the fuel prices, gas prices, in time for the midterm elections. I don't think this is a very good strategy to fool around with the nation's strategic petroleum reserve. Joe Biden removing some of the student loan debt. So some people will be happy with this, and others will not. But he did it, and I think he's going to continue it all throughout the presidency. And this is going to be a tool again a pandering tool to get votes. So got to be smarter than this, guys. Michael Saylor, we went to pay mom's credit card with cash at Citibank and was told you cannot pay with cash unless you have an account. A bank won't take cash. We are truly reaching the peak of stupidity in this country, is what Michael goes ahead and says. Rethinking the dollar. This one, we gotta watch, guys. We need to watch this. Where the World Economic Forum is proposing a globalized plan to police online content using artificial intelligence. So what this basically means is artificial intelligence is going to be deciding what is misinformation, disinformation, all of these things. And it means when you search for things, you're not going to see, you may not see the half of it. You're only going to see what they want you to see. Artificial intelligence is going to be controlling this. So again, moving forward, uh, a lot of voices are going to be silenced. They are going to be controlling. AI is going to be controlling basically what you're going to search for, what you're going to find, how you're going to basically think is what it's going to come down to. Ron Paul, happy birthday. It was recently his birthday. Americans suffer from a fear of their natural freedom. When people fear their freedom, the tyrants will always capitalize. And so today we have power, meaning government, money, meaning corporations, and propaganda, meaning the media, all merged together to repeatedly rip off the people at large. Ron Paul, the libertarian. David Morgan putting out this chart. We are here, surrounded by all of these things: Mad Max, Hunger Games, Animal Farm, Matrix, Idiocracy. All of these things we're surrounded by. We are in the middle. And this is why I say we got to keep our head on a swivel, because we have to be looking in all directions, see what's coming our way. This is what it means. Keep your head on a swivel. And I just want to take a look, I think, at one more. I know Germany's going to be paying some high fuel. Uh, Defund the IRS. So this is what's happening, where the IRS is we defunded the police and we have a whole lot of IRS agents. And if you look towards the end, these guys are carrying guns. They are actually carrying guns. They're going to be carrying guns in handcuffs, and who knows? Debtors' prisons may once again come back to be a part of society. Debtors' prisons, they were something that we had a long time ago. And lastly, face scans. This is in China. That's it. Basically, it'll just scan your face, know who you are, know your account, and go ahead and finish off your payments just by just by scanning your face. So a lot to, as I say, a lot to look at. So keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel. Okay, let's look at these comments here before we move on. Tom Bell, I mean, yeah, I like Ron Paul as well. He's the best candidate America has ever had. People may feel differently. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But he was one of the guys that did understand the economy, did understand sound money. He understood almost all of it. He wasn't a lawyer who became a politician. So he came in from a different viewpoint, and he was pretty much always for the people. So Ron Paul, I label him as one of the good guys, for sure. Peter Pagliaro, absolutely stay in the eye of the hurricane. This is exactly it. I mean, the calmest place is going to be in the center of the storm. We all know that storm is out there. We just got to try and stay in the center of it. Things like gold and silver do help us out. So again, one of the things to stay in that center of the storm. It's great, great comment there. Uh, okay, so let me move on here. I'm going to go to the topic of the day. This is going to be interesting. Is a one-to-one gold to silver ratio possible? Has it ever happened? How did it happen? What's happened since? What needs to happen to maybe have that come true? And then finally, can it happen? Can it happen? So, has there ever been a one-to-one ratio for gold and silver? Yes, I want to say yes. And I found this on the Peter Schiff's website, one of the articles that he had written a while back. Uh, Throughout most of known history, this ratio has averaged between 10 to 1, 20 to 1. In other words, most of our understanding of this historical relationship puts gold at about 10 to 20 times the value of silver. It's only been in the last century that we've seen such higher ratios. Even at that, today's ratio is historically high. The modern average has been closer to some 40 to some 50 to 1. Now, while there's much to look at in terms of the last 100 years, I want to first start and focus on the other extreme when the ratio was at an all time low of 1 to 1, even below 1 to 1. So, yes, a 1 to 1 silver to gold, gold to silver ratio is possible. It has happened before. And one example of that we know of was in ancient Egypt. The precious metals played an important religious role in ancient Egyptian society. So I had to check this out. And of course, it all started at Peter's website. Peter was right. In Egypt, silver was used to fashion beads as early as the Hellenistic period, back in 4400 to 3100 BC, and remained important for personal ornaments and cult objects in Egypt through Roman times. Temple inscriptions suggest that for much of Egypt's history, silver, silver was valued more highly than gold. Silver was valued more highly than gold. Now, unlike gold, which is known to have been brought from the eastern desert and Nubia, the sources of silver are obscure. They are obscure, and in view of the relative scarcity of local geological resources, assuredly much was imported from neighboring lands. So Egypt didn't really have the silver came in from neighboring lands. So, how did it happen where silver was valued equal to or higher than gold? Well, this is how it did. The Egyptians' uses of silver, they varied, but were mainly used for jewelry and mirrors. The Metropolitan Museum has a collection of silver, such as this piece here, silver jewelry from the burial of women. And this is interesting. This amulet, pictured here, depicts the hieroglyph that writes the word Sa, which means protection. The Sa amulet thus extends protection to the wearer, whether in life or death. So there you go. Silver was already establishing itself as being a protectorate for you. And a wealth of silver was found on the body of a minor official named Wa, who was buried in Thebes around the beginning of Dynasty 12. Now, in death, as probably in life, Wa wore two ball bead necklaces, a typical form of jewelry in the Middle Kingdom. Now, after Wa's mummy had been partially wrapped, this necklace of silver beads was tied around the neck, and the beads were strung on 12 or more strands of thread that were then twisted through the ties of thick linen cord. So, interesting here, scarcity, the hardness of the availability of silver, is what gave value to it. In Egypt, there was gold, but no silver, which made it valued, which made it treasured. However, why they valued silver so highly as well was because of its pale color. This is interesting. Its pale color. See, the Egyptians, they associated silver with the moon as opposed to the golden sun. So silver was associated with ritual purity and the bones of the gods coupled with their golden flesh. So silver was associated with ritual purity and the bones of the god as well as protection. So it was used to create statues and statuettes of deities such as Nefertim. Nefertim was a youthful god in the ancient Egyptian religion associated with the lotus flower and the warlike aspect that could be depicted as a lion. Okay, so yes, silver and gold were at a ratio of 1 to 1. Perhaps silver was even valued more. So, what happened since? What happened since? How did the ratio move from, let's say, 1 to 1 to a historic 16 or so to 1? What happened? Excuse me. Remember, the Egyptians had not seen silver and valued it highly according to rarity and religion. Kind of sounds like today's Bitcoin maximalist rarity, and it's kind of sort of a religion. Nonetheless, for the rest of the world, it is accepted that the ratio of silver to gold in the Earth's crust was 16 to 1 and has stayed that way for hundreds of years. Essentially, the ratio was tied to the gold and silver in the Earth's crust, not necessarily, I do believe, in money, because it already was used as a store of wealth, a currency. It already was money. So that ratio, 16 to 1, was the Earth's crust. It wasn't a price ratio like it is today. That's important to remember because it's going to take us to the next point. What happened? Why or when did we lose that 16 to 1 ratio relationship? Let's take a look at this chart here. This is pretty interesting. So in this chart, I've stretched it out down to 1700 all the way to 2020. And the interpretation of this chart is the gold silver ratio represents the number of silver ounces it takes to buy a single ounce of gold. Historically speaking, the gold silver ratio has rested somewhere between 15 and 10 to 1, reflecting the average supply of each metal. There were times throughout the history of money where the ratio was even lower. China once had a 4 to 1 ratio, and the ancient Egyptians even had a 1 to 1 ratio. So, looking at this chart, you can see it here 14, 15, maybe 16, it'll get up to for hundreds of years. This chart went from pre pre 1700, which they didn't even I think they even had a chart for, all the way up to here between 1880 and 1900. Something, excuse me, something happened here. The 1890s, something happened. It brought the price up, or the it brought the ratio up, and then we seen the ratio go back down in around 1920. But at this time, it was the end of World War II, or World War II was happening, so that was why it came back down. And then it went back up again shortly after, and then around 1968, we see it come back down again at about I believe it's like 20 to 1 or 18 to 1, somewhere around there, 19 to 1. So 1968, we see it come back down to about 19 to 1, close to the historic level, and it's never been close to that since. We see in Volcker's time it came down to about 28. We can see here in 2011 came down to about 42, and here we are today. But what happened during these time frames? That's the key. So what happened was we saw these few dates pop up, right? In the late 1800s, around 1890ish, the silver to gold ratio was altered forever. 1919, the world was in World War One, so we'll kind of leave it at that. 1968, the ratio came back under 20, but quickly went and returned higher. And in 1980, which we know was the stagflationary period where Paul Volcker raised rates to some 20%, and we saw the ratio get down, I think, mid high 20s, low 30s. So this leaves the question: what happened in the 1890s and 1968? Let me put that chart back up. What happened in the 1890s, this period here, and 1968? Because these 2 points really altered the gold silver ratio here, where it was pretty much always at 16, changed forever, came back down here, and it went up again, changed forever. So what really happened during these 2 periods? And if you guys know, before I go on, any of you folks know what happened during these 2 time periods? Let's see what else is out there. Carrie Ellen Wilder, The Crime of 73 happened. Okay, close, close. Let's see what else is out there. Uh, okay. Mm, yeah, Reverend Fry. I think you're pretty close here. Let me put this up. U.S. government should have been abolished when the banks were allowed to manipulate the metals markets. You're pretty close there, because let me show you what happened in those 2 time frames, 19 1890ish, and of course the 1968 time period. Okay, so what happened back then? In the 1880, or in 1890, I should say, under the Sherman Silver Purchase Act of 1890, the US federal government purchased millions of ounces of silver, which or with issues of paper currency. It became the second largest buyer in the world after the British Crown in India, where the Indian rupee was backed by silver rather than gold. Now, in addition to the 2 million to 4 million that had been required by the Bland-Allison Act of 1878, the US government was now required to purchase an additional 4.5 million ounces of silver bullion every month. The law required the Treasury to buy the silver with a special issue of Treasury coins or notes that could be redeemed for either silver or gold. Now, the result was substantial expansion in the volume of circulating dollars without a proportionate growth in the gold stock. The crash in the silver the crash in the silver dollar's bullion value in the 1890s from 80 cents to approximately 50 cents increased public anxiety on their continued ability to convert silver dollars and banknotes into gold. And the result was a run on the Treasury's gold stock and the onset of the Panic of 1893. In 1890, the price of silver dipped to $1.16 per ounce. By the end of the year, it had fallen to 69 cents. By December of 1894, the price had dropped to 60 cents, and on November of 1895, U.S. mints halted production of silver coins, and the government closed the Carson City Mint banks, discouraged the use of silver dollars. So silver was discouraged. So we see here that the silver was now quickly losing favor and losing its hundred of years crust in the earth ratio. Remember that now. It's the crust in the earth ratio now to a price ratio. Okay, so that changed. Silver was still correlated to gold, but that correlation was no longer via the Earth's crust. Instead, the silver to gold correlation or ratio was now controlled by politicians and banks instead of the Earth. That's what happened there. We had the transition from what was in the Earth's crust to politicians and banks, how they saw the ratio to be in order to back their monetary supply. So 1968, we'll move forward. That's what happened in the 1890s. In 1968, we saw that the ratio did try to come back down once again to 20, and then shortly after went back up. So in 1968, we had the end of the London Gold Pool. Now, the London Gold Pool was the pooling of gold reserves by a group of 8 central banks in the US and 7 European countries that agreed on the 1st of November in 1961 to cooperate cooperate in maintaining the Bretton Woods system of fixed rate convertible currencies and defended a gold price of $35 per ounce by interventions in the London gold market. So there you had it. Governments and banks started intervening. Uh, let's just substitute that word for manipulating the gold price. The London gold pool controls were followed with an effort to suppress the gold price with a two-tier system of official exchange and open market transactions. But this gold window collapsed in 71 with the Nixon shock and resulted in the onset of the gold the gold bull market, which saw the price of gold appreciate rapidly to 850 US dollars back in 1980. And then in 71, of course, the Bretton Woods system was abandoned, where there was no longer enough gold to cover all the paper money in circulation, and the US dollar became a fiat currency backed by nothing more than the health of the US economy and the promise of the US government. Remember this now, a fiat currency's value is based on the issuing authority's promise to pay, not an intrinsic value or ex- extrinsic extrinsic backing. So in 74, the ban on US ownership of gold bars was lifted and US citizens were allowed to trade gold. And the end of the gold standard ushered in the current system of floating exchange rates. See, they weren't done with the London gold pool closing down. So in 72, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, or CME, launched future trading in 7 currencies. And in 1974, the first gold futures contract was traded on the COMEX exchange in New York. 1980s experienced a sharp expansion of over-the-counter trading in currencies and gold, and the beginning of online trading, more or less. And there you go. This is what happened. Enter the COMEX and the trading of futures contracts on gold and silver. The silver to gold ratio has not returned since. It's getting further and further apart, but yet the importance and value of silver remains. Now, check this fact out. Now, despite silver being about 17 and a half times more plentiful than gold in the Earth's crust, silver and gold have roughly the same amount, some 2.5 billion ounces, available for investment purposes. So that they're still the same there. They have about the same amount available for investment purposes. So silver commands a relatively small amount for investment, just some 40% of supply, because over half of supply is needed for industrial applications. Silver usually trades more like an industrial metal than an investment commodity. But when it trades as a monetary metal, moves are explosive. So what happens? What needs to happen to get somewhere around that natural 16 to 1 silver to gold ratio? Now, the most obvious is to hammer down a nail, a huge spike on the corruption in the markets. We all see the suspicious moves on the COMEX. We all see the spoofing that traders and banks do. So it all starts with nailing down corruption, and that's you and me. So I'll leave this question to you. Can we get back to a natural 16 to 1 silver to gold ratio? Can we get to an 8 to 1 mining ratio, the silver to gold ratio that miners say it truly is? Or can we get back to that 1 to 1 ratio when it wasn't a paper price anymore? It was really how the metals were valued towards one another. So, what say you? What do you think? Can we get back to even a 16 to 1 or an 8 to 1? Let me get back to that chart one more time, because when we had let's just go more recently. When we had the bug, we saw it. I should come here actually. Yeah. So when we had the bug, we saw it at a 75 to 1 ratio, right? Remember, it dipped for a bit, and when we had the, of course, what happened in 2011, it was down at 48. And then, of course, when we had Volcker here in the 80s, it was down to 28. And then, of course, before the last bout of manipulation took place, it was at 18 to 1. And then, of course, the natural rate is about 16 to 1. What miners are telling us 8 to 1. So all of these things, they kind of or they don't kind of, they actually do add up. They do add up, because if we should really, take a look at the inflation rate today and what's going on, it could, it should, it may go back from 90 where we are back down 80, 70, 60, 50 with the next crisis. Continue on, maybe back down to the true rate of the ratio in the crust, 16, some say 8, 8 to 1. So it may go down, but a lot of people think, maybe you'll get 30, 40 to 1 in the next crisis. So that's what we're kind of looking at there. But what say you? And that'll wrap up the topic of the day. So I'll head on over to commentary. But first, I just want to see what you folks have to say out there. Um, I found it was short, but I found it pretty interesting how in Egypt silver was valued more than gold. I mean, we all see what Egypt did with gold, all of the things they did, but little did we know silver was actually valued more than gold. So that 1 to 1 ratio would happen before. Um, so keep in mind, it maybe not probable, but possible, possible. Okay, so let's see what else is out there. Um, Okay. Yeah, JM Unleashed, I completely agree with that. We have to get to 50 to 1 first. That's what I'm waiting for. Completely agree there. We got to get to 50 to 1. I mean, I think in the last decade or so, the closest we've come was when it went in the 70s. I think one time it touched 68, 69, but it's never been, it's been a ways away from 50, but I do think that as well. We need to hold 70, get at 50, and then if you can break 50, maybe we'll go back down somewhere in the 20s to 30s. That'd be pretty cool. I know a lot of you guys out there are holding a lot of silver, so yeah, I think that'd be cool on that. Mr. Nguyen, how you doing? Lynn Alden calls gold and silver as hard money. This is where eventually all bad money chases good money, gold and silver. Gold and silver. True, true. We can also think of Gresham's law, right? Our parents, grandparents, they held on to those silver coins once all of these clad coins came into existence. So I mean, we're gonna hang on to that good money for a while. Let's see what else is out there. Um, yeah, Seymour Rivers, it's possible but unlikely without some unusual supply issue. Good point. Good point. I can buy that. Um, Possible, yes. Probable. Well, It's a tough call. I mean, yeah, I know a lot of you folks, your heart's in it. You want that ratio to really close down. Uh, I'll take a look at a few more, then I'll wrap up with the commentary here. Fabricio, Fabricio, 16-1 for starters. Let's add this in the broadcast. 16-1 for starters. 8-1 when investment and industrial demand catches on, and 1-1 when the dust settles. If not, ratios reverse. Yeah, the important part with what you just pointed out there, I do believe it's going to go in steps. It'll go in steps. It won't just be a straight slide. As a ratio, starts to go deeply down. I don't think it's just going to be a straight slide. I think there's going to be steps. Points in history or events where it'll eventually go go down or close a bit. So that's a great point. That there's going to be things that have to happen along the way, and then more things that are going to have to happen along the way. So that's a great point. Extra's pyramid, exactly. If you folks know what that is, that's that picture of that pyramid, that the top is upside down. The pyramid's base is up in the air, and the tip of that pyramid is actually gold. Gold is it's underlying everything. Um, okay. Okay, so what I'll do is let's see, one more here. Holger, appreciate you. First time I've seen your name. Thanks for joining us. Let me bring this in. Silver being used as money cannot be avoided in hyperinflation. Uh, that's a great point. And because if you think about it, when your money's failing, you need something to replace money. What's going to replace money? First thing you're going to remember, silver and gold. That's always been money. It's ingrained in us as being money. So that's a great point there. When money really starts to fail, people are going to look for something to replace money. And again, that's where things like silver and gold come in. That's where technology that can help give you opportunities to use your silver and gold come in. Things again like cash gold token, where you can basically transfer your gold to someone else in exchange for maybe a house, maybe a business, whatever it might be. Okay, so let me move on to the commentary part here. Scarcity and religion is what brought silver to a 1-to-1 ratio with gold. I find it amazing that with something like Bitcoin, the claim is scarcity, and Bitcoin crypto has pretty much become a religion for many. Pretty ironic. Pretty ironic. That's what it was with the Egyptians way back when. Now, paper currencies are fiat fiction created through banking imagination. History and truth, they're on your side, and truth always prevails. Truth always prevails. Now, what's sound and true, especially when it comes to money, are gold and silver. So, next time you see a dollar with that pyramid on the back, which I used for the thumbnail, next time you see that dollar with the pyramid on the back, remember the Egyptians and that 1-to-1 silver to gold ratio. Smile and spend it. Spend it for more silver, maybe more gold, the true money. Stay the course. Stay the course. It's been a rough road for a lot of us. We've seen way too much. It's been a rough road. Stay the course if you can. That'll wrap up the commentary section. I'll just take a look at a few more comments before we wrap up here. Um, I mean, I hope this is pretty interesting for you folks. Okay. Um, Yeah, gnarly silver. My hope is the ratio stays here for a while. I want 5,000 ounces, 3,000 more to go. Congratulations. Congratulations that you have 2,000 ounces. You're doing very well compared to most people. You're doing very, very well. Um, keep going. 5,000 ounces. That's that's a good goal. That's a good goal. Great goal. What else is out there? Um, let's see. Yeah, sell. Sell T. Once big money steps in and invest in real silver, look out. That's the biggest part. The silver market is so small. The price is so undervalued right now. It wouldn't take much. It really would not take much for someone to come in and basically buy it all. But again, it's not necessarily the price that we're looking at. We're looking at more of the protection that it gives us, the store of wealth, being able to use it because it can store wealth, being able to pass it down, generational wealth. So there are a few reasons, many reasons why we are looking at silver. It's always been sound money. You saw that chart. The Earth tells us 16 to 1. Silver should be valued 16 to 1 compared to gold. And it wasn't until, as always, men came in and decided to, take over and changed the game. It went from what was a ratio of the Earth's crust into a ratio of price, uh, supply and demand, the supply of dollars, and trying to back these dollars or unback them with precious metals. So we moved again from that Earth's crust ratio to a price ratio that governments and banks kind of imposed on us. But that the Earth's crust ratio, it's still there, still there, still money. It is still money. It's hanging there. Okay, so let me yeah, Carrie Ellen Wilder, you're welcome. You're welcome. It was a bit short, but I thought it was pretty interesting. I just wanted to put it out for you folks. Okay, so what we'll be doing is we'll be wrapping it up. We'll wrap it up here. I appreciate you being with us. And again, wealth protection is where it's at. If you understand what is going on, shoot us an email, sales@silverbullion.com.sg, and we'll see what we can do to help you. As Rick Rule said, you have to think of a meter, okay? If things or are things getting closer to chaos, or are things getting closer to peace and calm? If it's getting closer to chaos, then absolutely consider or talk to us, about things like silver, gold, storing offshore, being able to put your gold and silver offshore. I mean, I showed you that the clip with IRS agents carrying guns and handcuffs, and they're young people. They are young people, and young people and old people nowadays, they don't seem to get along too well. So they may just look forward to uh to doing their job, let's say. But anyway, it does protect you. Shoot us an email, sales@silverbullion.com, and we'll see what we can do. And again, for you guys who are considering precious metals IRA, maybe you don't want to leave your money in fiat because the fiat should collapse. All these years you worked for, all of those years you worked for, your retirement is going to get wiped out. If you put them in something like gold and silver, at least it can store the value of not just your money, but the years and decades of work that you put in. So shoot us an email for that as well, sales@silverbullion.com.sg. Appreciate you guys being here. As always, stay in the eye of the storm. Some of you guys got yachts, some of you guys got canoes, but we're all in it together. And be a blessing, not a burden. We're going to have to help each other out here as best we can. So, with that, I'll see you guys. I may see you guys next week. I'm moving. So, if I have time to put together another live stream, we'll put one together. We'll try. But if not, I'll see you guys soon again. Take care of each other. Saddle up for what's coming ahead and silver up as well. I'll see you guys next week, maybe.